Hello, this is my interim reflection for the film interim trip. With this being my second interim trip, I felt that this trip was much more different and had brought an entirely different experience. Being totally honest, I came into this interim thinking that I would just screw around and make a mediocre film to present. However, due to the upbeat environment and energy that all groups had presented, I genuinely wanted to create a film that had well spent time put into it, something that I could be proud of. During this interim, I learned many things that were entirely new to me and things that expanded my knowledge base of the topic, such as working with the camera. I had worked with a camera before, but mostly with photography. During filming, I noticed that the filming moving shots was much more difficult and stability was an important key aspect to filmmaking. Therefore, I found that working with still shots was a much better option. Something new that I did learn was using the microphone and zoom device, which were used to capture dialogue and ambient sounds. These were devices that were absolutely interesting, and while even though we used little to no dialogue and ambient sound, the sheer experience of learning how to use it was a pleasure. Furthermore, I was able to build a relatively interesting plot incorporating many of my personal ideas influenced from romantic films I had watched before. Directing was much more difficult than expected. It showed me how important planning was, whether it was deciding what scenes to film tomorrow or how the actors should look and perform. Working with this group was certainly much more difficult than I had expected, as Michael, JJ, and I had already known each other so well prior to the interim trip, including Nick was hard. As JJ was sick on Friday, and Friday being the important day to plan out the plot and time frame of the film, not all ideas were incorporated and the plot of the film seemed incomplete. So on Monday evening, we as a group had decided to form a Skype group call and plan out the film then. JJ, Michael, and I had joined the Skype call group, however, Nick hadn't showed up. Upon further discussing, we wanted to involve Nick more into the group. I, being the director, had created a flashback within the story for Nick to be a supporting actor, which we did film during our visit to the Republic Polytechnique. However, on the final day of editing, we had decided to cut it as the additional flashback made the story very repetitive and found it to be unnecessary. Despite this problem, we had Nick help out with various camera work, such as during the beach scene with Michael and Annie. Overall, I had a blast working with Michael, Nick, JJ, and Annie. The many jokes and stories that we shared and laughed together added to the fun factor of this trip. Finally, I would like to thank Mr. Schultz, Miss Maher, Annie, Omira, and the other film groups of this interim trip for making this journey a motivating yet enjoyable one.